If there was one thing I hated more than traffic, it was blind dates. But there I was again, staring at my reflection in the mirror, trying to convince myself that this time might be different. My best friend Mia had set it up. "Come on, Emily," she had said on the phone earlier that week, her voice bubbling with excitement. "He's single, successful, and he owns his own company. I just know you two will click," I groaned, throwing myself onto the couch. "Mia, the last time you said that, the guy turned out to still live with his mother and collect toy trains." She laughed. "Okay, that was one time. This one's different. Trust me, that's what she always said." Still, something about the way she sounded made me give in. Maybe it was her relentless optimism, or maybe I was just tired of my predictable routine. Wake up, go to work, design logos for ungrateful clients, eat takeout, and fall asleep watching reruns of Friends. So here I was, standing in front of my closet, trying to decide what to wear for a date I didn't even want to go on. After 30 minutes of overthinking, I settled on a simple navy blue dress that hugged my figure just enough to look elegant without trying too hard. My hair fell in soft curls around my shoulders, and I kept my makeup light. A touch of blush, mascara, and nude lipstick. Before leaving, I glanced in the mirror one last time. "You can do this, Emily," I told my reflection. "It's just dinner. If he's weird, you'll survive." The restaurant Mia chose was one of those upscale places downtown, the kind that had live jazz, waiters in suits, and a faint smell of expensive wine. I took a deep breath and walked in, trying to exude confidence I didn't feel. "Reservation for Emily," I told the hostess. She smiled and led me to a cozy corner table with a view of the city lights outside. The atmosphere was romantic. Soft piano music played in the background, and tiny candles flickered on every table. I checked my phone. 7:05 p.m. My date was 5 minutes late. Typical. I sighed and reached for my glass of water. Maybe I should just text Mia and tell her it wasn't worth it. But just as I was about to, I noticed a tall man walk through the door. He looked breathtaking. Tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal gray suit that looked like it was made just for him. His dark brown hair was slightly tousled in a way that looked both natural and impossibly stylish. And those eyes, clear blue, sharp yet warm, scanned the room until they landed on me. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. He started walking toward me, his confident stride turning heads as he passed by. I quickly sat up straighter, suddenly nervous. He smiled when he reached the table. "Emily." His voice was deep and smooth, like velvet. "Yes," I replied, trying to sound calm though my heart was racing. He extended his hand. "I'm Daniel. It's nice to finally meet you."
I shook his hand, and an unexpected warmth spread through me. Okay, I thought, Mia might have actually done something right for once. He took a seat, and we started talking. At first, it was the usual small talk: work, hobbies, favorite foods. He told me he was in the tech industry, but didn't go into details. He asked about my job as a graphic designer and listened intently, like he genuinely cared. "You must be creative," he said with a charming smile. "That explains why you're so easy to talk to."
He looked softly.
That's a new one. Usually, people say designers are too quiet or lost in their own world. Then I guess I'm lucky to meet the exception. There was something magnetic about him, confident, composed, but not arrogant. He had this way of making me feel comfortable, like we'd known each other far longer than a few minutes. Dinner went by effortlessly. We shared stories about our childhoods, embarrassing college moments, and travel dreams. I found myself laughing more than I had in weeks. Then came dessert, a warm chocolate lava cake that we decided to share. As I scooped a bite, Daniel chuckled suddenly, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "You know," he said, leaning back in his chair, "this might be the most interesting meeting I've had in a long time." I smiled. "Interesting? That doesn't sound too flattering." He shook his head. "No, I mean it in a good way. It's just, I didn't expect this evening to turn out like this."
He tilted my head.
"What do you mean?" He hesitated for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. Well, my assistant told me I was having dinner with a woman named Emily, a potential business investor.
My fork froze midair.
Wait. What? His brows furrowed slightly. You're not that Emily, are you? My eyes widened.
No.
My friend set me up on a blind date tonight, with a guy named Daniel. We stared at each other for a few seconds before bursting into laughter. You mean? I said between giggles, we were both supposed to meet different people? Apparently, he said, still laughing. This explains a lot. Oh my gosh, Mia is going to freak out when she hears this, I said, covering my face in embarrassment. He leaned forward, his eyes still twinkling with amusement. Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad this mix-up happened.
I can't imagine a better dîner compagnon.
His words sent a flutter through my chest. I smiled shyly.
You're not so bad yourself, Daniel was not my dad.
He grinned. And you're definitely not the investor I was expecting. As the laughter faded and the night grew quieter, we lingered at the table long after our plates were cleared. There was a spark between us, undeniable and unexpected. When it was time to leave, Daniel stood up and offered his hand. Allow me to walk you to your car? I nodded, feeling my heart skip a beat. The city lights shimmered around us as we stepped outside, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of jasmine.
At my car, he turned to me, his expression soft. You know, he said, sometimes life surprises us in the strangest ways. I smiled. Yeah, like showing up to the wrong date and still having a great time. He chuckled. Exactly. Maybe we should let fate decide again sometime. Are you asking me out, Mr. Wrong Meeting? I teased. He grinned. Only if you'll say yes. I hesitated, pretending to think. Well, since it technically worked once, he laughed. I'll take that as a yes. As he watched me drive away, I caught a glimpse of him in my rearview mirror, tall, confident, and smiling. Little did I know that the wrong blind date that night wasn't wrong at all. It was destiny, disguised as a beautiful mistake. The weekend after that unforgettable dinner, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Daniel Kingston, the man I wasn't supposed to meet. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his smile, that easy, confident grin that seemed to melt away my nerves. I told myself it was ridiculous. I had only known him for a few hours, but there was something magnetic about him that I couldn't explain. Mia, of course, was over the moon when I told her what happened. You what? She shrieked over the phone. You went on the wrong blind date? Emily, only you could pull off something like that. I know, I groaned, pacing my apartment. It's crazy. But it was actually nice. He was charming, smart, funny, definitely not who I was supposed to meet. So what now? Did he ask for your number? I smiled, biting my lip. He did. And you gave it to him? Of course I did. Mia squealed. Oh my gosh. This is fate, Em. Fate with a capital F. I laughed, but deep down I wondered if she might be right. 2 days later, Daniel texted me. Daniel, I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime. No mistaken reservations this time, I promise. I read the message 3 times before replying. Me, only if it's not secretly a business meeting. Daniel, cross my heart. Just coffee. Saturday? Me. Deal. Saturday arrived faster than I expected. I spent half the morning deciding what to wear, not because I wanted to impress him, okay, maybe a little, but because something about Daniel made me nervous in the best way. I finally settled on a white blouse tucked into high-waisted jeans, paired with ankle boots. Casual, but neat. When I arrived at the cafe, he was already there, sitting by the window scrolling through his phone. His sleeves were rolled up, and sunlight poured through the glass, highlighting the sharp lines of his jaw. He looked up, saw me, and smiled. That same smile that made my heart trip over itself. Hey, he said, standing to greet me. You look beautiful. Thanks, I replied, feeling my cheeks warm. You clean up pretty well yourself. We ordered our drinks, cappuccino for him, caramel latte for me, and settled into conversation that flowed as naturally as the first time. He asked about my work, genuinely curious about the design projects I was working on. Most people tuned out when I talked about color palettes and typography, but Daniel listened like every word mattered. You really love what you do, he said after a while. It shows. I smiled. I guess I do. It's not glamorous, but creating something from scratch and seeing it come to life, it's the best feeling in the world. I know what you mean, he said softly, stirring his coffee. I started out the same way. Long hours, sleepless nights, just chasing something I believed in. I raised an eyebrow. You make it sound like you've been through a war. He laughed. In a way, I have. I run a small tech company, or at least, that's what it started as. I nodded, not realizing how big of an understatement that was. Do you still love it? I asked. His expression softened. I do. But sometimes I wonder what it's like to just live normally, without people watching every move you make. There was something in his tone, a hint of loneliness I hadn't noticed before. It made him seem human, vulnerable. We talked for hours, about life, about dreams, about the little things that made us who we were. By the time we stepped out of the cafe, the sun was setting, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Can I walk you home? He asked. I hesitated. It's a bit far. I don't mind, he said with a grin. Besides, it gives me more time to talk to you. So we walked, down the busy streets, past people laughing, cars honking, and city lights beginning to glow. I hadn't felt this alive in a long time. At one point he reached out and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. The touch was soft, careful, like he was afraid to break something fragile. I looked up at him and saw something in his eyes. Warmth, curiosity, maybe even affection. My heart stuttered. When we reached my apartment building, we stood awkwardly at the entrance. Thank you, I said, for today. I really had a good time. So did I, he replied, his voice low. I don't think I've ever met anyone quite like you, Emily. I laughed nervously. That sounds like something out of a movie. Maybe, he said, smiling. But it's true. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Mia again. I waved it off, embarrassed. Duty calls? He teased. Best friend check-in, I admitted. He nodded, amused. Then I'll let you go. But only if you promise I'll see you again soon. I hesitated for half a second, just enough for him to notice, then smiled. You will. He grinned, his eyes sparkling. Good night, Emily. Good night, Daniel. As I watched him walk away, a strange feeling settled in my chest, something between excitement and fear. I barely knew him, and yet, something about him felt different. Real. That night, as I lay in bed replaying the day in my mind, I caught myself smiling at the thought of him. I didn't know who Daniel Kingston really was, not yet. But I did know that something special had started between us. Something that neither of us expected, but both of us were already falling into. And what I didn't realize then was that the man who just walked me home wasn't just another date. He was one of the most powerful, eligible billionaires in the city. And somehow, fate had just placed him in my life, through a mistake that was starting to feel a lot like destiny. 2 weeks passed like a beautiful blur. Since that second non-blind date, Daniel and I had been inseparable. We met for coffee in the mornings, went on walks in the park after work, and shared dinners that stretched late into the night. Sometimes we'd just talk for hours about everything and nothing. Childhood memories, silly fears, favorite movies. He had this rare quality that made time disappear when I was with him. The world felt softer, slower. like everything else paused so we could just exist together. But beneath all that, I couldn't help noticing there were things Daniel never talked about. He never mentioned where he lived, what company he worked for, or who his friends were. Whenever I asked about his job, he'd smile and say, "It's complicated," before changing the subject. I didn't push him, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to ruin whatever this was. Still, curiosity lingered in the back of my mind. One Thursday evening, Daniel texted me unexpectedly. "Daniel, are you free tonight? I'd like to take you somewhere special." I stared at the message, a smile tugging at my lips. Me? Special as in fancy restaurant or surprise adventure? Daniel, a bit of both. Dress nicely, but not too formal. My heart raced as I got ready. I chose a light pink dress that flowed just above my knees and added simple pearl earrings. I wasn't sure where we were going, but I wanted to look like I tried, just in case it was fancy. When he arrived to pick me up, I froze for a moment at the sight of his car. A sleek black Rolls-Royce polished to perfection. I blinked. "You drive this?" He smiled casually. "It gets me from point A to point B." "That's one expensive point B," I teased, but something in me stirred. A realization that maybe Daniel wasn't the ordinary guy I thought he was. As we drove through the city, the skyline glimmered against the darkening sky. Finally, the car turned toward a high-rise building I'd only ever seen in magazines. The tall glass structure shimmered like a jewel against the night. The security guard at the entrance greeted him respectfully. "Good evening, Mr. Kingston." I froze. Mr. Kingston? The name sounded familiar, like something I'd heard before. My pulse quickened as the elevator doors closed behind us. "Daniel," I began cautiously, "that guard just called you Mr. Kingston." He looked at me, unreadable for a moment, then smiled softly. "That's my last name." I hesitated. "As in Kingston Enterprises?" He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was calm but sincere. "Yes. I'm the founder and CEO." The air left my lungs. "You're the Daniel Kingston?" He nodded. "I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't want that to be the first thing you knew about me." I stood there speechless, my mind racing. Kingston Enterprises was one of the biggest tech companies in the country. His face had been on magazine covers, news interviews, online articles, but I'd never put it together. Maybe because he never acted like one of those arrogant rich men I'd seen before. "You must think I'm insane," he said quietly. "Pretending to be a regular guy, hiding all of that from you." "No," I said after a moment, shaking my head. I don't understand why." He took a step closer, his eyes soft. "Because I didn't want money or fame to get in the way. People treat me differently when they know who I am. I didn't want you to see the billionaire, I wanted you to see me." My heart softened. "You could have told me." "I know," he admitted. "But every time I tried, it just didn't feel right. I was afraid I'd lose what we had." I looked at him. This man who could have had anyone, who lived in luxury, but who'd chosen to keep things simple just to know me. "Daniel," I whispered, "you don't need to hide who you are. I liked you before I knew any of this. That doesn't change now." His expression relaxed, relief flooding his face. "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that." The elevator chimed and the doors opened to reveal his penthouse, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe again. The place was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the glittering city below. Elegant furniture filled the space, minimalist yet luxurious. A soft instrumental melody played in the background, and the faint scent of jasmine lingered in the air. He guided me toward the balcony where a private dinner table was set. Candles flickering, 2 glasses of wine, and a bouquet of pink roses. "This is beautiful," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He smiled. "I wanted tonight to be special." As we sat down, I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized that beneath the fame and wealth, he was still the same man who'd laughed with me over dessert on that wrong blind date. After dinner, we stood by the railing, the wind gently tugging at my hair. The city sparkled beneath us like a sea of stars. Daniel turned to me, his voice low. You know, I've been to countless business dinners and met hundreds of people, but I can't remember the last time I felt this, at peace. Because of the view? I teased softly. He smiled. Because of you. For a moment, everything was still. He reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingering against my skin. Emily, he whispered. I don't know what this is yet, but I know I don't want it to end. My heart pounded as I looked up into his eyes, honest, steady, filled with warmth. Neither do I murmured. And then he kissed me, slowly, gently, like a promise. The city lights blurred behind us, the world fading away until there was nothing but him and me. That night, I didn't care that he was a billionaire. He was just Daniel, the man who'd accidentally walked into my life and made it impossible to imagine a day without him. The morning after our magical evening at Daniel's penthouse felt surreal. Sunlight streamed through my window, and for the first time in years, I woke up smiling before my alarm went off. I could still feel the warmth of his hands, hear the softness of his voice, and remember the way he looked at me, like I was the only woman in the world. Mia called, of course, the moment she sensed something had changed. So, she said excitedly, what happened last night? Tell me everything. I hesitated, still processing it all. Mia, you're not going to believe this. Daniel is the Daniel Kingston, the billionaire CEO of Kingston Enterprises. There was a pause. Then came the inevitable shriek. What? Are you serious? Emily, that's insane. He's like everywhere. Forbes, business magazines, TV interviews. Oh my gosh, girl, you're dating a literal billionaire. I laughed nervously. Please don't say it like that. I didn't even know until last night. Mia's tone softened. But you like him, don't you? I sighed, smiling to myself. I do. More than I expected to. Well, she said dramatically, fairy tales do exist. Just don't let him buy you an island too soon, okay? I rolled my eyes, but my heart felt light. For once, everything felt right, like the world had aligned just to make this happen. The days that followed were even better. Daniel and I fell into an effortless rhythm. Coffee dates, dinner nights, random calls just to hear each other's voices. But soon reality came crashing in. It started with whispers, then headlines. One morning, as I entered the office, my coworkers were huddled around a computer screen. I didn't think much of it until I heard my name. Emily, you're on Starbuzz. Look, one of them said, turning the screen toward me. My stomach dropped. There it was, a tabloid article with the headline, Billionaire Daniel Kingston spotted with mystery woman, is she his new love? And below that, a photo of us, walking out of the cafe hand in hand. My face went pale. Oh my gosh. The article went on, speculating about my identity, my background, even where I worked. By lunchtime, reporters had already emailed my company. My phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers, social media notifications, even random strangers asking if I was the girl dating Kingston. That evening I sat in my apartment, staring blankly at my phone. Me. Daniel. They found out. He replied almost immediately. Daniel. I know. I've been trying to handle it. I'm so sorry, Emily. I never wanted you to be dragged into this. Me. It's okay. I just didn't expect it to happen so fast. Daniel. Can I come over? Minutes later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, he was standing there, wearing a dark sweater and jeans, looking exhausted but still effortlessly perfect. I should have warned you, he said softly, stepping inside. This is what comes with my life. The media, the rumors. I hate that they're involving you. I swallowed hard. It's not your fault, Daniel, but it's a lot. He reached for my hand. Then let me protect you from it. I looked up at him. How? You can't stop the world from talking. No, he admitted, but I can make sure it doesn't hurt you. He sounded so sure, so sincere, that it made my heart ache. But deep down, I knew love wasn't always simple, especially not when one of us lived under constant public scrutiny. Over the next few days, Daniel did everything he could to shield me. He released a statement confirming that we were dating, asking the press to respect my privacy. He even assigned security near my building, something that both comforted and terrified me. Despite his efforts, the spotlight only grew brighter. Some articles were flattering, others were cruel. Ordinary girl wins billionaire's heart, Cinderella story or hidden agenda. Who is Emily Carter? Everything we know about Daniel Kingston's new flame. Reading them felt like being stripped bare. My photos, my social media posts, even my old college blog. All suddenly public property. Mia kept reminding me to stay strong. You can't let strangers define your story, she said. But one evening, as I left work, a group of reporters cornered me outside the building. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. Miss Carter, are you planning to move in with Mr. Kingston? Is it true he bought you a car? People are saying you're only after his money at any comment. My throat tightened. No comment, I whispered, pushing through the crowd as flashes blinded me. When I finally got home, I collapsed onto the couch, trembling. Tears slipped down my cheeks as I buried my face in my hands. Moments later, my phone rang. It was Daniel. Emily? What happened? Are you okay? I took a shaky breath. I can't do this, Daniel. I didn't sign up for this world. The cameras, the gossip, the hate. There was silence on the line. Then his voice, low, steady, aching. I know, and I'm so sorry you're paying for my name. Daniel. Please, he said, almost pleading. Don't let them scare you away. Don't let them ruin what we have. I closed my eyes, torn between fear and love. I just need time. I need to think. He was quiet for a moment, then said softly, Take all the time you need. But know this, I'm not giving up on us. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My heart was heavy, my thoughts tangled. I loved him, I knew that much. But could love survive under the blinding light of fame? Outside, the city sparkled, the same city that had unknowingly captured our first accidental meeting. And though fear tugged at my heart, one truth echoed louder than the chaos. Sometimes love wasn't about finding the perfect person. It was about finding someone worth facing the storm for. And deep down, I knew Daniel was worth it. The church bells rang softly in the distance, echoing through the crisp morning air. The sky was painted in hues of gold and pink as the sun rose gently over the city. It was the kind of morning that felt like a blessing, as though the heavens themselves were smiling down. Today was the day I would become Mrs. Emily Kingston, the wife of the man I met by mistake. As I stood in front of the mirror, my hands trembled slightly while my stylist pinned the last strand of my hair into place. The reflection staring back at me barely looked like the same woman from that fateful night at La Bellissima. My soft curls framed my face perfectly, a delicate veil cascaded down my shoulders, and my eyes sparkled not from makeup, but from pure happiness. Mia appeared behind me, holding a bouquet of white roses and lilies. She looked like she was about to burst into tears. You look absolutely breathtaking, Em, she whispered. I smiled, blinking back tears of my own. I still can't believe this is happening. Can you believe it all started because I went on the wrong blind date? Mia chuckled, wiping her eyes. You should probably thank me for that. If I hadn't set you up with Andrew, you wouldn't have met Daniel. I turned to her, laughing softly. Remind me to make you my maid of honor for every wedding I have from now on. Don't even joke about having another one, she warned, grinning. "You're only allowed one. And this is it." We both laughed, but deep inside I knew she was right. Daniel wasn't just the man I loved. He was the man who saw me when I didn't even see myself. When the music began to play, I felt my heart skip. The church doors opened, and the warm sunlight poured in, illuminating the aisle lined with white petals and flickering candles. Guests stood, turning to look as I took my first step. And then I saw him. Daniel stood at the altar, tall and confident in his classic black tuxedo. His eyes found mine instantly, and in that moment everything else faded. The music, the people, even the nerves. All I could see was him. His smile was soft yet steady, the kind that promised love without limits and forever without fear. As I walked toward him, tears filled my eyes. Every step brought back memories. The laughter at our first dinner, our late-night conversations, the fights, the reconciliations, and that perfect proposal on the beach. When I finally reached him, he took my hand gently, his touch warm and familiar. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined," he whispered so only I could hear. We danced until the song ended, and the crowd clapped as he kissed me once more, slow, sweet, and full of promise. As the night wound down and guests began to leave, Daniel and I sneaked away to the balcony overlooking the lake. The moonlight reflected off the water, and the gentle wind carried the scent of roses. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Mrs. Kingston," he whispered, testing the name like it was something precious. I smiled, leaning into him. I liked the sound of that. He kissed my cheek. "Do you ever think about how different things would be if that mix-up never happened?" I turned to face him, gazing into those familiar blue eyes. "All the time. But I believe fate knew exactly what it was doing. Maybe we needed that mistake to find our forever." Daniel brushed a strand of hair from my face, his voice low and tender. "Then I'll thank fate every single day for the rest of my life." And under the glow of the stars wrapped in his arms, I realized something. Love doesn't always come when you're ready or when you're looking for it. Sometimes it walks into your life uninvited, disguised as a wrong turn, a mistake, a blind date that wasn't meant to be. But when it's real, when it's meant to be, it finds a way. That night, as we left the garden hand in hand, I glanced back at the flickering lights, the laughter, the flowers, the place where our story began and ended, only to begin again. Because that wrong blind date didn't just change my life. It became my life. It became my forever. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your participation is essential so that we can continue to bring you more incredible stories. Share it with your friends to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.